This podcast is not suitable for children or those who are easily disturbed. Spoiler warning for whatever is in the title of this episode.
And now for the obligatory socials. Please like, share and subscribe. You can find the podcast on Twitter at HorrorPod69. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Slasher and Goodreads. Become part of the Disturbed community by asking for the Facebook group and Discord links. Send dick pics to the horrorofbabylonpodcast@gmail.com. Support the show at patreon.com/thehorrorofbabylon. In closing, you can let your friends know that The Horror of Babylon is available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible and all other major podcast apps.
Welcome to episode 121 of The Horror of Babylon, where we discuss Wizard and Glass. I am Ryan, and with me as always is Daniel. Say hi, Daniel.
Hi, Daniel.
And Hef's here too.
How y'all doing? Good. Oh.
Thank you to our patrons, including Abigail, the first breaker of chains, mother of dragons, and
Logan,
the full metal patron, and Ben, the fourth patron of hope, and Mia, the fifth, the rainmaker.
She makes it rain.
Oh, she makes it rain. And thank you to Sierra, the sixth, the keyblade patron.
Ooh, new patron.
And thank you to Horsemen Comics and Gaming, which you can visit at the Morgantown Mall in Morgantown, West Virginia, the Mall at Robinson in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You can shop online at fourhorsemen.tcgplayerpro.com. And if you would like, you can join me for my quest. I'm going to the Hambry Village location of Four Horsemen Comics and Gaming, where I have been banished by my father to do a stock check on everything in the Hambry Village Four Horsemen. I'm going to spend several months counting all the magic cards. And then I will eventually move to comics. I think there might be a scheme going about with the comics. So if I notice that there's more comics than there's supposed to be, I'm going to have to try and trick them into thinking that I don't notice that. So it's going to be a game of castles, but I think we'll get there.
At least it's not Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
They have Yu-Gi-Oh cards too.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
I recommend putting something in the brick wall then.
Trigger warning. Rape, molestation, violence on animals.
More Romeo and Juliet references that I can think of.
Okay, jumping. No, our history with Wizard and Glass. So unlike the Wastelands, I had zero expectations for this book. I talked about in the Wastelands episode where I had that book sitting in my Audible for like 2 years. It has a sweet ass cover, and I'm constantly looking at it, building up all these expectations. Wizard and Glass is the exact opposite. All I knew about this was it's book 4. That's all I knew going in. So
same.
I know one person that has read these, and I was aware that of all the ones that they had read, that this was their least favorite. And from what I'm understanding, that's a pretty common viewpoint for a lot of people in this one, or in these books.
The one I see most commonly referred to as least favorite is the Gunslinger.
That one I could also see. I get why not many people would like this one, though. Like, I definitely understand why that's the case.
I'll go ahead and tell you, this one is my favorite. I think this is the best of the 4 so far. However, I think this one has the least general appeal, or if it does have general appeal, it's hampered by its length. So this is not a book that I expect other people to like, but I like.
When we were reading Shakespeare in high school, like, I read a lot of Shakespeare in high school, and I remember reading Romeo and Juliet and thinking that this is my least favorite of all the Shakespeare works that I had read up to that point. Wizard and Glass has a lot of those elements, I think. Like, there's very much a Romeo and Juliet kind of aspect to Roland and Susan's relationship. It did bring back, like, the idea that, like, I didn't like that a whole lot. And I do agree with you that I think the length on it is a little bit much. Now, that being said, I also I would actually think that this one, like in a vacuum, I think this one might be the most accessible one of the ones we read so far.
Because it's, if you exclude part 1 and part 4,
yeah,
it's a self-contained story.
Right. Yeah.
And you've never read it before.
I've never read it before.
You just sit there and do nothing.
Yeah,
The vampire's a pure myth, superstition. I may be able to bring you proof that the superstition of yesterday can become the scientific reality of today.
Background, this book was published September 9th, 1997 as book 4 of the Dark Tower series by Stephen King. Dave McKean created 18 original illustrations for the original hardcover of this book. They were only published in the first edition hardcover back at the original trade paperback in 1997. We'll go ahead and take a look at some of these now. Buckle up.
Dave McKean is a wild artist.
Buckle up.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on a minute. I like where this is going.
Okay, so this first one is the dozer that they come across in Kansas, I guess. And then there's the rose. And I have a link.
The guy popping out of the dozer just makes me laugh.
I have a link. There are a link for a page with all these images in the show notes, so you can pull those up and follow along with us. And then our next image
my favorite one.
is Rhea of the Coos and her 6-legged cat molestering Susan Delgado.
What an oddly specific picture.
Yep.
I like that cat looks like it's got a dick growing out of the side of it.
Those are its extra muty legs.
It looks like a dick.
Okay. This next one is, I guess it's supposed to be Cuthbert with his slingshot and his lookout.
Huh.
With the raven skull.
It looks like an old man.
If you gave me 100 guesses, I wouldn't have got that.
Well, when I first looked at it, I assumed it was Eldred Jonas.
Yeah, but now I see the slingshot.
Yeah, the slingshot and then the
birdie.
The bird head, so I guess that's Cuthbert.
Got some big old lips on him.
That's the picture of them having an affair.
Is that Roland and Susan having sex, I guess?
Also, is that a crab claw?
No. Did it chum?
But it's so huge.
Yeah.
All right.
So, Dave McKean.
Yeah. You're not kidding. Buddy.
Would
not.
I guess this is Rhea looking in the glass.
Yeah.
I guess. Okay, there's the most beautiful girl in Hanbury, Susan Delgado. and our gunslingers.
And there's the cast of Tombstone below her.
It's the little hand for me.
What's weird is this is the least abstract one so far.
I think this one, like, y'all ever watch Monty Python and the Holy Grail?
Yeah.
No, I've never seen that movie.
Yeah, this is them when they're like doing little cartoon bits.
Yeah.
Hi, Roland. A picture.
I mean, somebody's gonna get stabbed.
This is when
he confronts shit.
Jonas?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because I think that's him up in the corner there. Like,
I guess that's
our gunslinger.
I guess that's Roland with his knife, and that's supposed to be Jonas.
I
but
think so.
I guess he put it in his back. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever. This is
Cool as fuck. Whatever it is.
This is the men, the good man's men, like trapped with the brush on fire and the thinnies on the other side at the end of the book. And the box canyon.
Oh, okay.
They're trapped in. He just kept thinking, box canyon. They're in the box canyon. This is the tower.
This is our tower.
with Randall Flagg's teeth as stairs, probably.
Oh, nice.
Very cool. Rhea of the... Oh, this is the Wicked Witch of the East from Wizard of Oz. As Rhea the Coos as the Wicked Witch of the East.
Ah.
Yeah. Here's the rainbow. Okay. There's Rhea of the Coos and her poor dead snake.
I was wrong. This is my favorite picture.
This is the centerfold. Back when centerfold.
And that's the last one. Yeah. Thank God. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Side fact: Dave McKean he does a lot of I mean, in addition to doing a lot of weird art, like if you ever read the Sandman graphic novels, I think he did all the covers for those. He also worked on a movie called, let me think, I think it's called Mirror Mask. It's kind of, basically the whole movie looks like that. It's really warped looking, but it's a good movie.
Cool. This book's subtitle is Regard.
And that's that. Another story in the classic, infallible 3-act structure. Good enough for Aristotle, good enough for The Simpsons.
Mr. Sislak, I have a feeling there's going to be one more act to this story.
Well, I'm not hanging around for that. 4 acts.
Moving to structure and themes. Why is this book's subtitle Regard?
I have no idea.
I feel like all the other subtitles have been pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Did Roland regards Susan?
Maybe
Culture in regard?
Maybe we're talking, it's Eddie, Susanna, and Jake's regard for Roland, because Roland is finally opening up to them. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm stretching here.
I mean, that sounds smarter than my answer.
I mean, we're all just grasping at straws here.
Yeah, I don't even got a straw, dude. At this point, I'm lucky to maintain any sort of grass I can hold on to stop from falling off the earth.
That's fine. Okay, so let's just have some general thoughts on the structure. Daniel, you've been quiet. What did you think of the structure of the book?
It was fine, I guess. It being one giant flashback for most of the book, I'm just not a fan of.
I also have a problem with flashbacks. Not really my biggest problem with the book, though. This one, so I mentioned in the third one that I actually liked how it ended. Like, it ended at kind of that apex point. The problem I had with this book is that it starts at that apex point, and then I feel like it kind of cuts you off after that point, and there's just this very big deviation with his flashback thing that goes on for a very long time. And then still before the end of the book, it goes into another portion that I feel like was going to, push into the next part of the book, which I realize that's how they're flowing. But to me, it just felt very odd.
It's very slow plotting book.
It's weird because it starts off feeling like you're at a climax of a story because you're picking up at the climax of the previous story. Mm-hmm. And then it feels like it starts over. Yeah.
So part of me was like, oh, they should have just done the whole riddle game at the end of Wastelands. And the other half of me is like, don't make the Wastelands longer. I don't know if there's like an easy answer of how to do that.
Yeah.
I think this one was more like, I think we've made comments before about like Stephen King's writing method is basically he just writes. He just writes. And I think this book is a good example of why that can come back to bite you sometimes. Because, I feel like this is just one of those things where maybe his length in the third one was a problem, because he just wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote. Then he gets to this fourth one where he basically wants to make one big flashback scene, but he still has to kind of wrap up what he was doing before that. What I don't understand is why at the end of why the end of the fourth book goes back to Roland and, his current band of travelers, and they have another kind of climactic apex.
I think because he wanted to end the book with another interaction with Randall Flagg to kind of keep the main through line of the story going. My issue with that is the TikTok man.
Oh, that's my Koontz.
It's so
spoilers.
Did not like the TikTok man at all in book 3, but at least he served this purpose. Okay, we're setting up the TikTok man to be Randall Flagg's right hand man.
Yeah, he brings him back to life. It's a cliffhanger, and then it's a wet fart.
And then he shows up for a hot second, gets shot in the face, and he's dead. I'm like, why did we even take the time to bring him back?
You could have literally edited that out of the Wastelands. Not included him here, and I think both books would have been better for it.
And Flagg could have still showed up.
Yeah, he could have still just been Flagg.
Yeah.
And people who have read The Stand, who were excited when they saw the newspapers, aka Daniel.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
Could have been like, ooh, Flagg. Oh, what do you go by now? Oh, I go by Flagg now. Ooh.
Yeah.
Point to the audiobook.
Oh, yeah, there's so many more points where you could have just left that as an innuendo at this point, and without actually bringing it full circle until the end of this.
I struggled with part 4 aside from, not necessarily because I thought it was bad, aside from the TikTok ban, that was stupid.
Yeah.
But just because I think once the confrontation with the big coffin hunters was over, like, and Susan dies, like, the book's over.
Yeah.
Like, we're spinning our wheels now.
And then we get, like, very, I guess not literal, but pretty much just the Wizard of Oz. Here,
yeah, it was an hour of just Wizard of Oz
references.
It was like, yeah, and I appreciate all of those, but, like, I didn't need them spelled out quite as obviously as they did.
Yeah. Hooray.
Yeah, I think structurally, like, next to the Wastelands, this might be the weakest one in terms of structure. I felt like I was jostled by the start of this one. Then we get into the flashback, which I'm already kind of hesitant on in the first place. And then you're giving me another thing to kind of try to boost climax to. Then it finishes. Then you've got another climax that's happening, and it's like I felt real jostled around in this
I can't
one.
remember. Did they give Susan shoes at the end?
Susanna,
yeah.
She had
like things on the end of her.
They weren't really shoes.
Okay,
so much
right.
as they were caps. Or,
I couldn't remember if like somebody was being mean to her.
She got something.
Yeah.
Even Oi got shoes.
Yeah.
So he had little dog booties.
No,
Yeah.
So aside from the beginning of the book and the end of the book, I liked the structure. I thought, unlike the Wastelands, for me the Wastelands was up and down, up and down, up and down. But this was very consistent, at least like parts 2 and 3. All of the flashback was slow, but it was steady. Like, it wasn't throwing me all over the place, unlike the Wastelands.
I just didn't have the... Like I said, I just felt like I was more tossed around by this one just because of... I just felt like we were getting 3 different arcs of a story. And I was really only prepared to read one of them. Well, maybe 2. No, I'll give it 2. Because the end of the first one and then, the flashback. I expected the flashback to be the rest of the book.
Well, the flashback was like 80% of the book.
It is, which made the last very tidbit of it, however long that was, just kind of weird.
Yeah, no, part 4 was... It could have just been... I understand you need an epilogue. You can't just end it as soon as the story's over, but it could have been significantly shorter, and Flag still could have shown... They could have, wrapped up their campfire, they could have left, they could have ran into Flag, and the book could end, like... It just could have been shorter.
Yeah, they're already wandering around the stand. Flag could have just been there.
Yeah. Or he could have been like they end the story and like they're all so into it, they didn't realize that Randall Flagg was sitting around the fire with them for how long have you been here?
Yeah. Really,
he's just tossing his pamphlets into the fire.
No, he's cooking a rabbit.
Really anything. I don't know. Like I struggled with this one a lot. But that's my own, I think, hang-ups on it rather than the book being bad. I don't think the book's bad at all. Like, honestly. It's just parts of it didn't jive with me.
So, I feel like we've had 4 books, and they all take from the same collection of genres, but each one of them feels like they focus on 1 or 2 genres more than any of the other ones do. And this one was so much a Western romance.
Yes.
And had a lot of typical Western tropes and obviously romance tropes. What did you guys think of this one genre-wise?
In terms of genre, actually, I think this one's the most focused. I think this one is much more focused on what it's trying to tell you as far as like an actual structure of a story. So when I say I don't like the structure of this book, that's kind of misleading. It's not that I think that the structure of the actual flashback narrative itself is bad. I think that's actually good, and it's probably, in terms of the series as a whole, it's probably the best structured one, because it's a straight, linear Western tale that there's not a lot of confusion on where you are or when you are. It's just, here it is. When I say I don't like the structure, what I really mean is that first part and then that last part being with this one, to me, just felt odd, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, my least favorite portions of the book are part 1 and part 4.
Right. So, I don't But this one is also, as far as the genre, is very focused on it's a Western. There's romance happening. Like, there is some fantasy elements, but they're not outwardly goofy like some of the other ones we've had at this point.
The fantasy elements in this book are more like literary in terms of like world building and such. It's not like supernatural things like dragons and such. Aside from Rhea,
but it's just a witch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like a soothsayer is a little bit easier to grasp in a Western setting than, I don't know.
There's not dragons flying around.
Or like a man with a clock hanging like right in front
or
of him.
Or a giant bear with a satellite dish in its head.
Yeah, no. Like, objectively, I think this... If I'm speaking objectively or whatever like that, like putting everything aside, I'd say this is probably the most focused of the ones that we've read so far, with the exception probably of the second one, because at least the second one, like, it knew that it was building up the characters. That's really all it's doing. It doesn't have to be real. It doesn't have to go out of its way to do what it's doing. So this one and the second one, I actually think are probably the best structured as far as the ones as far as what we have read so far.
He definitely picked a lane.
Yes, he did.
And he's like, this is the lane I want. This is the story I want to tell. And he did it for 80% of the book.
Yes.
Which
I was on board with that story, but I'm not going to criticize somebody who wasn't on board with that story.
I was on and off the boards of the story.
If you gave it to me by itself, I think I would have had a better time with it.
I think... when I got into part 2, like into it, I completely forgot about all of the other stuff. It sounds like you had issues.
I had my big issue, I think, again, was just you have that. This is my own problem. It's really hard for me to. I've told you before, I have a hard time when you do multiple things in a book, like kind of not even genre mashups, but like I've used Pet Sematary as the example, where if you're trying to be a horror, how did I describe it last time? It sounded smarter whenever I did it. But
just clip that in.
Well, it was.
You can do it. I'm not.
I have a hard time whenever you are trying to do a whole lot of different stuff in a singular contained volume, and this kind of had that problem for me, where you have the first part, the fourth part, and then you've got that big chunk in the middle. And it's just kind of, since it's not its own entity in a singular volume, there's those two other parts to it. My brain is still trying to comprehend it as one book, and it shouldn't be, because it is, this is this part of the story, this is this part of the story, and then the middle is the meat of it. And my brain can't quite put all that together.
It's a frame narrative. It's like, it's not that dissimilar to The Princess Bride.
Mm. Yeah, no, I would agree with that.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
So let's go ahead and go to characters, and you'll notice that I didn't even put Eddie, Susanna, and Jake in the characters. And I can't imagine that either of you are going to disagree with that decision.
Nope.
Okay, cool. So let's start. We've got these divided between heroes and villains. We'll start with Roland's ka-tet. We have a 14-year-old Roland Duchesne, or shall I call him Will Dearborn. Daniel, what did you think of Roland in this book?
He was very horny.
He was 14.
The entire time I was reading this, I was going, oh, so it's horny teenagers fuck up.
That is what it is.
It's a Wild West version of Romeo. That's what he was.
I was comparing this more to Pride and Prejudice than Romeo and Juliet, but I think, like, on the surface, yes, because Romeo and Juliet is more about, like, it's an immediate fixation, a physical attraction. It's about your hormones going crazy. But what kept putting me in the mind of Pride and Prejudice was, like, the dinner party and, like, the gentry and the that aspect of it, and like, oh, when you see the lady, you have to kiss her hand and you have to say a certain thing, but you can't look at her too long because you can't let on the. So that kept putting me into Pride and Prejudice mode. I've also read Pride and Prejudice a lot more recently. I haven't read Romeo and Juliet since freshman year of high school. I really enjoyed it, though. I really liked it.
It's basically, I'm going to say beat for beat, Romeo and Juliet, but it's pretty damn close because it's like, they're both young. They're both just kind of like you said, kind of living on their hormones. And there's portions of the book where Roland and Susan Ross, obviously, they're not being careful enough because they're kids and they're wanting to fuck. Where this differentiates from me between like a Pride and Prejudice and then a Romeo and Juliet thing, I think quite simply is that they actually fuck.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's where that stops being Pride and Prejudice like references to me. They think the physical contact that they actually give into.
Jane Austen just doesn't write like that.
No, but I'm telling you that as far as my brain puts it together, that's how I read it. And it even has like the tragic ending of where, as Pride and Prejudice doesn't.
Halfway.
Stephen King was like, I have children, I need to make them bang each other.
He's not wrong.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that in Kiss Me Fat Boy.
Roland himself, though, I have a whole lot. He was, more naive Roland rather than, gruff Roland, I guess.
This was the most relatable that the character's ever been to me.
Yeah.
Because I've been in that position when you're a teenager and you're having sex for the first time and you're making bad decisions and you can't get enough of it and you're not being as careful as you should be. Obviously, it's not the same situation they're in, but it felt like the kind of like unbridled passion they have for each other reminded me of my own experiences having sex in high school. And so it kind of brought me back to that age.
He was way more suave than I was in high school, so I can't relate.
He pulled off hats better than I ever did.
Yeah,
same. Yeah. Okay, I guess let's keep going. Susan Delgado.
Should have slapped her aunt more.
Oh yes, absolutely. I like Susan. I feel like we got more out of her character than I thought we would. Like I was kind of with the way that these books have been going with Susanna, I was kind of expecting kind of a dull female lead kind of character, whatever like that.
She's great.
And she's great. No, I really liked her. Like, 'cause she's very fleshed out for what little time we have her.
I think, aside from Bev, or maybe, like, it depends on how you compare it, but this is one of his best juvenile characters, like adolescent characters for me. Susan was definitively my favorite character in this book, and if you would have asked me like partway through, I'm like, oh, Cuthbert's the man, but by the end of it, like, I was most attached to Susan.
Susan was the character I related to the most, and explaining why is not possible. I've tried to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, not to you guys, but when I was sitting there reading, like, why do I like this character the most? Don't know. Doesn't matter.
I mean, she's so put upon. She just, like, didn't ask for any of this shit. Like, her aunt, like, twists her arm into accepting this Jilly ship that she doesn't really want, but she doesn't have anything else going in her life, so she might as well make her and her aunt's life easier by becoming a Jilly.
Plus, I might get a baby, and that seems like fun.
She wants to raise a kid.
Yeah.
But then... Plus, she gets her horses back. She loves her horses. But then she just has to go and fucking fall in love. I'm like, well, shit, isn't that how it happens?
Damn.
One of my favorite points in this book, and I can't remember the exact line, is Susan thinks to herself, or she maybe even she said it out loud, I never even really thought about how old this guy is. How much younger is he than me?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, they're both teenagers, but I just thought it was a really funny line.
I know Roland was 14. I don't remember if it specifically says how old Susan is, but...
I think it was 16.
I was thinking 16.
I think she's 16, yeah.
But just the fact that line was included was so funny to me. But for some reason, like, when that thought process entered her head, I don't know, it kind of reminded me of, like, my last 4 relationships, and I'm like, oh yeah, she's 22. Or she's 24.
Anytime she had to interact with an adult, I got an intense feeling of ick.
Yeah.
Like, every time. Any sort of adult character. Like, I think that's another thing about this book that I found rather funny, because, like, all of the grown-ups are scum, for the most part.
They all are.
Yeah, like I don't think there's one adult that you like.
No, because I think like all the good characters are teenagers. I mean,
The Mayor's wife was okay.
yeah, Olive.
Olive, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
You're gonna fuck my husband, and I'm still gonna save you. Or try.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, she was intelligent enough to know it wasn't Susan's fault.
Yeah.
But I like Roland made a point of saying that the only two people in Hambry he liked were Susan and Olive, and then by the end of the book, I'm like, he didn't like Sheemy?
Poor Sheemy.
That's not nice.
He always gets the rat's ass of everything.
Yeah, he does. He makes it out of Hambry.
Yeah.
The scene with Susan where she's like first molested by the mayor.
Thorin.
Ick.
Yeah.
Ick.
It
That was
wasn't a
bad.
good time, but I literally started laughing because of the dude reading the book was all like, "Get out of me, you poison!" And I'm like, the next time I have sex, I am going to scream this, and then I won't get to have sex for a while.
Yeah. That'll kick you out of bed.
If it doesn't... You know what? No, it's fine.
Yeah.
You keep that to yourself.
She gets molested a lot in this book, unfortunately.
Oh, he just gave you a dry hump.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's fine.
It's totally fine.
It's fine.
Yeah,
It's okay to dry hump a 16-year-old girl when she obviously doesn't want it.
Listen, honey, he'll be dead soon. It's fine. Just deal with it for like another couple years.
Yeah.
His knuckles cracked when he grabbed my breast.
That weirded me the fuck out whenever that was described, because like I just... And for like when I was after that scene, I think there was like an entire day like I would just like hear, because I have a coworker and she does that a lot, and like I heard that so much more that day after that was described. I just kept hearing it. And I'm like, yeah.
I used to crack my knuckles a lot, but I haven't. For what I don't even know why, but I've kind of stopped in recent years. Now I want to do it, and I just want to do it.
Yeah, right.
Okay, Susan's great. Cuthbert. He's all good.
I don't know how to describe my feelings about Cuthbert.
I wish he would have punched Roland twice. I really liked his the bar scene with Sheemy.
That's why I was waiting for one of you to bring it. That was a big high point of the book.
And I kind of just part of me wishes that the book was maybe like a little bit shorter so I could focus more on that. Because a lot of the time I'm sitting there going, yes, I know you're counting. I know that there's more than there's supposed to be. Yeah, I know you guys have already told me you figured this out. You can move on from this point. I guess I should have brought that up in structure, but
It's a long book.
But
they gotta talk about something.
Whenever I get to points like that and then I'm being dragged along, I'm like, I just want to see him use his slingshot again.
Yeah,
it's not
Be
a very
smartass.
it's not a very action-packed book.
Yeah.
I would say when it does get action, it's very good. But it's very, like I said, it's very slow. It's very plotting.
I also liked whenever he smiled and Susan thinks to herself, "Oh, if I would have met this one first."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, horny teenager, the book."
Yep. Yep. I had noted that line as well.
Yeah.
Girls get horny too.
Okay. All good.
There's a line from Big Mouth where a big sister explains that to her little brother, and that's what I keep.
And he's
thinking.
like, "Nuh-uh."
His head literally explodes. Newsflash: girls get horny too.
Cuthbert is. I think Cooper was Cuthbert.
Just call him Bert.
Bert.
Young all good. I think I built him up in my head more than what he should have been, because like there's in the books before that, like Roland mentions him frequently and compares him with Eddie a lot. So I think by the time I got to him, I was just kind of underwhelmed. Now the bar scene is cool. I like that's being how it started out. I was sitting there being like, all right, this is what we get, and then it just continued after that.
Put your slingshot down. No.
I don't know.
I ain't gonna do that.
I think I fell for my own trap on that one and just thought there was going to be more of him doing just boss shit and being a smartass than what I got. Which
There's not.
I was just expecting more, I guess. Which didn't. It hurt my character love for him, but at the same time, what we get of him it's still good.
Yeah.
Like, I would still consider him probably, like, as far as a character in this book, like, probably, if not my favorite, then pretty close.
Yeah. I'd say he's probably my second after Susan.
Yeah, Susan definitely... I understood Susan a lot better.
Oh, you spend so much time with Susan.
Susan I get.
It's not really a comparison.
I 100% understand Susan.
I also understood Bert when he's sitting there going, man, it's not fair that my best friend's having sex right now.
Yeah.
I was like, that's such a very teenager thought.
They were right to be miffed with Roland that he wasn't focusing on their mission, but 100% a lot of those feelings were also jealousy.
And I think it's good writing that's sort of acknowledged that sometimes feelings are complicated, and sometimes you're pissed off about more than one thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
and sometimes half of that is valid, and half of it's just
stupid.
It just is.
Yeah, it's just a thing.
Yeah. Okay, so then the one that we spend less time with, Elaine.
I could not care less about this character if I tried.
I think I might agree with you, except he's got the shine.
Yeah. That's the one thing I can say is I'm like, he has the shine, I guess. But, like, I'm sitting there going, man, this guy, because he's written to be, like, the subdued one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Bert is, like, the really outgoing one. Roland's sort of the badass, progeny, youngest gunslinger. And he's the other one.
Yeah.
He has the shine, but I guess it's just not brought up enough for me to care.
Well, I mean, and that's kind of how it is in, like, every book that features the shine. It's always underused.
Yeah, it's super subdued.
Like, Mother Abigail has the shine, and how often is that brought up?
Is it, like, talked about at all?
Yeah.
But she also has, like, other personality traits that I could latch onto, where he's the quiet one.
Right. And that's why I say I would agree with you, except for this just one thing.
Yeah.
And that's really all he has going for him.
And that it makes him hard to talk about.
I guess that he is kind of like he's kind of the middle ground between two extreme personalities.
He was good at getting Bert to cool off.
Yeah. Could only wonder what would have happened if only Cuthbert and Roland had gone to Hanbury. There would have been more blood.
Well, they would,
or maybe a lot less.
They would have died in the bar, but so would have two of the big coffin hunters.
True. And then Sheemy is just
unfortunate.
Okay, I already forget his name. What's M-M-O? M-O-O guy. Yeah, Tom Collin. Yeah. Okay. I was sitting there going, and I thought Tom Collin was a little insensitive. That was my opinion of Sheemy.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna...
Granted, Sheemy's put in an Old West post-apocalyptic setting.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, people are gonna be fucking cruel to him.
Yes.
But another part of that was the fucking... Because, again, I was listening to this on audiobook. And the voice that the guy was doing, I was like, brother, like...
I've been working on it. Mr. Cuthbert Allgood is my best friend.
Like, literally. I'm like...
So...
And maybe it's kind of, like, written... like, the words are written a certain way, and I'm just not looking at them on the page, so, like, how else is he supposed to read it? But at the same time, I'm sitting there going, this is my experience with this character, and I'm uncomfortable.
Stephen King has a group of characters. Tom Collin from The Stand, Wolf from The Talisman. I forget the character's name from Dreamcatcher, but there's another in Dreamcatcher, and then in Sheemy, and it's... You can definitely interpret these as offensive. So
I don't think that was his intent. I think he's trying to be inclusive.
Yeah.
But trying and succeeding are sometimes two different things.
Yes.
So that's my opinion of Sheemy.
Yeah.
I really appreciated how good of a person he was.
I love Sheemy as a person, not so much as like a
representation.
An attempt at representation, yes. Yeah. I was very happy that Sheemy survived. Of course, it tells us that he dies during the quest to the Dark Tower, but everybody but Roland dies.
I also laughed hysterically when Rhea was like, hey, I could take a mushroom and look like anyone you want.
He's like, no. No, I don't think so.
No, I would know.
I'm saving my cherry for my best friend, Cuthbert Allgood.
We just like ship it, send it, go.
Okay, getting into the villains, not talking about them individually, but just Eldra Jonas / the Big Coffin Hunters.
I really like Jonas.
I think he's one of the better, like, tier 2 villains.
Yeah, he's like, just something about, like, a failed gunslinger and how easily that gets under his skin.
Mm-hmm.
I liked all of that.
Yeah, I liked him a lot, actually.
I actually liked most of the villains.
Yeah, I think aside from the TikTok man.
Yeah, I don't even really include him.
Well, I only put him on there just to bitch about how stupid it was.
Yeah, so we'll get to him more.
Hef, what did you think of Eldra Jonas?
I remember thinking, like, in my head, I always pictured him. Did you ever watch that Nickelodeon movie, Snow Day?
Yeah.
The guy who drove the snowplow?
Huh. Okay.
Constantly pictured this guy whenever this guy would be in the story, and he just looked like that. Character-wise, I thought he was actually... I liked his motives. Like, he was kind of bitter about everything, and it very much made, Susan's fate that eventually happened to her a lot more. It made it sting a lot more, because he was just doing it for spite and wrath. It's just, ugh. Characters like that get under my skin, but they're also... That makes them really good, because they piss me off.
I really liked waiting for him to get his comeuppance and then seeing it happen. It was a good payoff.
I love when you have that's a mark of a good villain too. Is like when you actually like see when you get that payoff for them when they actually like are punished for what they do. And so rarely, I think, do I get that out of a villain, like a good punishment for it.
I especially liked that when the confrontation happens, there's no contest. Like, Roland and the guys just steamroll them.
Yeah.
And I ate that up so much. Because the whole book, they're just, like, totally, like, discounting these stupid kids. They're stupid rich city kids. Fuck them.
These guys showed up and...
Maybe the one's a gunslinger, but he's not even a real gunslinger.
I just like how much Bert, like, was killing people with, like, the slingshot.
Yeah, that was cool. That was really cool.
They showed up to fight the Batosai.
Yep. You're gonna get slayed, man.
It was honestly, like, that entire sequence was very, like, anime. Was very... Yeah. You got 3 dudes fighting, like, 50 guys.
It's like, we're gonna wait in the tall grass, and we're gonna come up behind them, and we're gonna take them one at a time until they're all dead. Then the leaders are not gonna know we're there until basically everyone else is already dead.
It was an excellent Western standoff.
Yeah.
Like, very, and I almost say it had kind of a siege kind of feel to it, too. Like, I love the, I guess one against many kind of, like, odds. Those are always really high tier for me.
Yeah. No, I agree. That was great. Another great villain, totally despicable, Cordelia Delgado. God.
Probably the most, not relatable, but like the type of person I've come across the most.
Most real world
She's
villain.
the most understandable. Yeah.
I have had family members completely dick over me or other family members for money, and then act like, oh, I'll just give you the money, and then you sit there and you wait for it, and they get this just panicked look on their face. Oh, like, oh, you were supposed to refuse.
Her motives are so understandable. Like, she's literally just trying to squeeze anything for everything that she can get. And, like, she always has this... I think what I liked about her the most is, like, the justification she has for everything. Like, it's never, like... On one hand, you're looking at it, like, as the reader, and you're like, this is bullshit. But the way she's saying it is you 100% know that she believes everything she's saying. Yep. Like, she 100% believes everything she tells herself. And that's very real.
She's very entitled.
Yes.
She feels like she's entitled to this for raising her brother's daughter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a very real entity that you will meet if you have been fortunate enough to not meet somebody like this. Good for you.
Yeah, no, these people exist for real. It's you raise your you raise your niece because your brother died and she's your family and she needed somebody to take care of her, not because you're going to use her to pay for something.
Have you heard of OnlyFans?
have you heard of welfare?
She really reminds me of Dr. Raymond in The Great God Pan. He's like, I feel like her life is mine to do with what I will. I saved her from starving.
Yeah, I took her off the street. She's basically a pet.
Yeah, she's mine. I can do what I want with her.
That's a great example. Oh, man.
Rhea of the Coos. Daniel.
I also really liked Rhea of the Coos. One of the reasons was...
Coos.
When she was being introduced, they were like, now there's real power like Randall Flagg has, and then there's Rhea, who kind of has gotten power but doesn't really know what real power is. And it's kind of neat because the book even shows you that disparity, where she can do all this amazing shit, but at the end of the day, it's really just like backwater magic tricks in comparison.
If this were Star Wars, she'd be one of those kids that was force sensitive, but not enough for the Jedi to actually take them in and train them.
Yeah.
Be like, it's there, you have it, but you're not strong enough to become a Jedi.
Or they were way too old and they just learned some parlor tricks.
Like, okay, you can make an apple like wobble across the table. That's you can't be a knight.
You can cheat at poker.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but just getting that and the way she's like written with like her, especially when she starts withering away. Very, very drug allegory Stephen King.
I felt like we got some very like Salem's Lot-esque vibes where we get these little vignettes about what the townspeople do behind closed doors.
I really liked anything that had to do with her in the glass ball, to the point where whenever I was back with Roland and Susan, I'm like, can I go back to Rhea? I want to hear about more of the weird shit these people
I want to hear about the naked lady who licks
her floor.
Like, she had the cleanest floors.
I'll clean your floors, dearie. These kids go around chopping off dog tails.
Those kids, man, I wish I could smack those kids' ass.
Big coffin hut. We're big coffin hunters.
Yeah! The world is moving on. Rhea the Coos?
I didn't like her.
Okay. I thought she was icky.
She gave me ick. Like,
I didn't like her as a person, but I liked her as a character.
Vermont, my poor snake.
I think I got overexposure to her. Like I think I just got too much of her a lot of the time.
Too much, not enough. I felt like I got exactly the right amount of Rhea of the Coos.
Well, you're the Goldilocks of these.
I'm the baby bear. Yeah. My porridge is just right.
Oh wait, does that make you Elaine?
Yeah. I've got the shine.
I'm more interested in like which one between you and me is which one was too hot and which one was too cool.
Yeah, I don't know.
Depends on the day.
I was screaming at work last night, so apparently I was too hot.
Hawthorne, but not so much him as a character, but him / the people of Hambry. Just how they are like kind of like a character.
The second most realistic villain in the book.
Yeah.
He's an old dude who wants to bang a young chick. Like, I get it, dude, but like she's 16.
Him and like the sheriff and the deputies and the minister and his sister, and it's like it's very much representative of like a small rural town, and they're like fake, they're phony welcomingness of people who are outsiders, like, oh yes, come and join and come to dinner, and
we're planning to burn everything you love to the ground.
but they're really talking about them behind their backs and saying how terrible they are, and but we have to keep up our rural welcoming appearances.
This is a real good picture of like rural county people, like going to your local going to your local courthouse. If you're in a rural community, is a lot like this. Like they're all kind of like in this little niche group where, you know, only they're in on the stuff because they've been there their whole lives. They know how all this works, and if you're coming in as an outsider, you're probably not going to.
You got to live there for 40 years to not be an outsider anymore.
Right? Yeah. No, it's an excellent example of I would say small town bureaucracy is probably a good way to phrase it for me.
And they all sort of excuse each other.
Thorin was Joe Biden in a robe.
I was thinking Bill Clinton.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, yes.
Yeah. Also, I don't know. Like, just sometimes Thorin is just like he just kind of jittered around. I just imagine he just jittered. He didn't actually walk anywhere. He just shook.
I wish I could rename this character. Thorin is not my favorite Middle-earth character by a mile, but he's so much better than this guy.
Is that the dwarf, the dwarf lord? Or
Thorin Oakenshield.
Were you picturing the dwarf the whole time?
Yes.
I was picturing the cartoon wizard from the King Arthur cartoon. Only, like, I gave him dark circles under his eyes.
So, I was picturing Thorin from the animated movie.
Yeah, no, that's pretty close, yeah. I low-key love that movie.
No, that's my favorite movie that isn't Star Wars.
I don't think I watched that one. I don't think. No.
Missing out.
I'm sure. I think Gollum is, like, really hilarious in that movie.
Yeah.
Precious. It's so different from, like, what you get in the Peter Jackson interpretation.
It's very different. So,
but
old dude. There are so many Tolkien references in these books. There's no way that he wasn't aware that he was naming this character after a major Hobbit character. And
yeah, he did it on purpose.
It's like, you jerk, Steve!
Instead of naming, like, using the three boys' aliases, using them to be, like, Thorin and
Keely and Feely.
Yeah, instead of that, he's like, the old pervert.
Yeah.
I guess Thorin loses his shit by the end, but...
Yeah. I mean, he's not... That's a whole... I'm not going to go on
I feel his rod on the back of my leg, and now it's wet.
Thorin is not the hero that he's made out to be in the movies.
He untucks his shirt to hide his cum stain.
But he's a very greedy dwarf. Yeah. But he doesn't, as far as I know, he doesn't molest 16-year-old girls.
You can just say dwarf.
Yeah.
I'm being a racist elf.
You are, absolutely.
They'll die before they see the ring in your hands, though.
I mean, and just, I guess, bringing it up now, like, the wizard glass, obviously, an allusion to not only the ring, but also the Palantiri from the Lord of the Rings. Yeah. But just the obsession, like, how people get it, and they're so just, like, quickly obsessed. That's the ring aspect. And to the point where when they don't have it, they're craving it. And then also just it is a Palantiri. It is a crystal ball. It is a ball you can look in and see things.
Was this written when Stephen King was in recovery?
97. Yeah, because he got hit by that van in like the early 90s, I want to say.
Yeah. I'm talking about like his drug recovery.
Well, so there's two. So he was on cocaine in the 80s.
Yeah.
And then he like got off that. But then he got hit by a van.
And then the alcohol happened. Is that what?
Well, he got addicted to painkillers.
When
after he got hit by the van. As far as I know, like drinking was like a thing throughout. 70s were like big on alcohol because that's before he had like jillions of money.
That's before he had cocaine money.
Yeah, and then in the 80s he had cocaine money, and then he got hit by a van, and then there was like opioids.
Because a lot of this book I was going, I bet you this was written when Stephen King was either in active recovery or wanted to be in recovery.
1999. So actually, this was right before he got hit by a
van. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess he still understood addiction. So.
Yeah, I mean, cocaine and alcohol.
So.
Yeah. Okay. Continuing the Middle Earth comparisons, John Farson, the good man, the villain who's mentioned again and again, but you never meet.
I like that I never meet him.
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe we do in a future book.
I kind of hope we don't.
Yeah.
I 100% forgot this was even a thing.
Yeah, he's Sauron of Midworld.
I've literally blanked on this name. Like, what?
He's the general of the rebellion trying to prop up democracy against the fascist gunslingers.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Democracy is the bad guys.
I'm very literally in this story.
Yeah.
At least that's the excuse he's using.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they explain that he is a tyrant, but he's using, like, the people. He's using democracy as like his excuse for the rebellion.
Yeah. Why should you be ruled by these autocrat gunslingers?
Because they're descendants of Arthur L.
Some fictitious character. Right to rule. This is for America.
Women in lakes handing out swords is not a feasible form of government.
If I wandered around saying I was an emperor because some watery tot threw a scimitar at me, they'd lock me away.
Okay. And then we already bitched about the TikTok man, but I mean it was cool to see Flag.
Yeah, no, I liked Flag. Part of me even kind of liked the Wizard of Oz thing to a point.
Yeah, I did. They just went a little far with it.
Yeah, it lasted a little long.
If part 4 would have just been like about 3/4 the length, half the length.
Yeah.
Get rid of the TikTok man.
I probably would have even forgiven it. Like they look behind the curtain and they expect to see like some doddering off, and it's actually just someone really dangerous. Mm-hmm. Like that's the subversion.
Yeah.
And instead it's the TikTok man, and he gets shot and dies.
Just like
instantly.
Why did we even take all the time to establish him in the last book?
Well, you need to know Randall Flagg can bring people back from the dead.
We already know that.
Yeah, we are. He can do whatever he wants.
Randall Flagg needs bitch boy. That's
and
my life for you.
My life for you.
And
that's how he survives. He has to have somebody living for him.
If he brings back the TikTok man in book 5, I'm going to be pissed. I'm saying it right now.
I think part of me knows that this is like physically impossible because of when these books were written, but I want Ezra Miller to be in the other books.
I'll kill you all! I'll drive you crazy, and I'll kill you all! I'm every nightmare you ever had. I am your worst dream come true. I'm everything you ever were afraid of.
Scary shit. Is this book scary?
If you're afraid of teenage pregnancy.
I think it has some disturbing, unnerving points, but this not scary.
This book makes me feel ick.
Yeah, there's a lot of icky
There's a lot of ick stuff.
I don't think it tries to be scary either, up until maybe the thinny at the end, where it's getting kind of like quasi Lovecraftian, but not enough for me to care.
Yeah, no, it's not a horror novel.
Yeah,
it has some horror elements, but it's a Western romance / dark fantasy.
Honestly, I think the scariest thing in this book, and the thing that got me the most excited, was when they ended up in The Stand, and I was like,
whoa,
other worlds than these?
Other worlds than these? That was really cool. I really appreciated all of that.
Yeah.
You just make that kind of stuff makes you want to like jump in the book and let me tell you about Stu and Larry and Fran. I won't have as much to say about Fran, unfortunately.
I disagree. I'll have all the stuff to say about Fran.
Yeah. Well, I wish I. Okay. But yeah, I mean, like the molestation both by Thorin and Rhea, the way that Shimi is treated, the way that Cordelia treats Susan, like there's lots of icky, unnerving things in this book. The kids cutting the dogs' tails off, that messed me up a little bit. It's just like, that's so shitty, but I know stuff like that happens.
Oh, yeah. Especially in
rural towns, where
there's nothing else to do, and
I had
poverty's probably
I had a neighbor up the way who he brought me a cat, like literally to my doorstep, and he said, "Here, take this." And I was like, "I don't want it." Why? He said, "Because if not, I'm going to shoot it." And I'm like, "What an asshole!" Like, so yeah, we took the cat.
Like, you just
doesn't walk up and say that to people. What a fucker!
Don't feed the cat. Just let it alone.
I've had that exact conversation.
Oh, I mean, but I don't know. I can't handle. Like, I'm not big into animals. I will outright say.
Do you live on a farm?
I do.
His wife's farm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, now it makes sense.
It's.
For some reason,
that's a segue we don't need.
I've had this picture in my head like that he's a farmer because he lives on a farm.
I do farm stuff. I just don't really have a particular affinity to animals. But I'm not. But animal like that's just cruel to me. Like, it's not even just cruel to the animal. It's cruel to a person.
Yeah.
Just to say that to somebody, like that's not acceptable to me.
No, I mean, that's just like respect life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
Kiss me, fat boy.
Kiss me, fat boy. Daniel, how do we feel about all this sex between children?
I'd be like, haha, wait, how old are these characters? Fuck! That's my reaction, like.
So,
because he writes so detailed, and he writes in such a sexual way.
I'm reading it, and it does make me nostalgia for being a teenager and having, like, sexual touching for the first time. But, like, he goes so far with it that it's hard for me to argue it's not supposed to be titillating.
That's my point, is like, I'm sitting there, and the way he writes it makes me forget for half a second, and then I go, wait a minute.
Yeah, like,
And then my brain catches
I cannot
up.
get turned on by this.
Yeah.
So it's like halfway to being okay. It's like, but then he takes it too far.
Yeah. Like, when Rhea's doing stuff like, oh, he's had every hole, that's kind of fun, because that's a villain trying to provoke an outcome.
And she's also talking about it as if it's happened. It's not a description of it happening.
Yeah. But, like, in the moments, and her nipple grew hard as diamond.
Yeah.
And I'm like, neat. Wait a minute.
But, like, neat. Teenagers have sex. I had sex when I was a teenager, but I don't need a vivid description of it in this book intended for adults.
Yeah.
It's one thing to be like, to describe it somewhat to make you nostalgic for when you were a kid and you were having your first sexual interactions, but when it goes on for 5 pages...
I'd highly recommend cutaways, is what I would have recommended.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they start, they cut away, and you imply, you can even say they did it.
Yeah, you can even say what they did, you can't write it like a Penthouse forum.
Yeah. Dear Penthouse Forum, I hated the rural town until this happened.
My dad sent me away to get me away from John Farson, the Democrat. Little did I know.
Little did I know, Republicans fuck too.
Democrat isn't someone who supports democracy.
I just wanted to make that joke.
I didn't mind it the first time, I guess is the better way to say it. Like, the first time it happened...
I guess you get one.
Well, one makes sense to me, because it's like the first experience for both of them.
Okay,
so even if you're getting a little bit more over-descriptive, they're both teenagers experiencing this for the first time.
And
you're describing their first sexual encounter. So I could see that being a little bit more in-depth and intense. But doing it more than once is where I would say, after that, just kind of chill. Like, it's fine.
Just slow down a little bit.
Yeah. I don't need descriptions every time.
He's a sex pervert.
Yeah. Like I said, I didn't mind the first one. I thought it was fine. It was just when he kept doing it that I'm like, oh, come on, dude.
Yeah. They like to have sex, those teenagers.
I mean, that's, yeah.
Oh my god, are you Stephen King? No, I'm Dean Koontz. Oh.
Kings and Koontz. Daniel, what is your king for Wizard and Glass?
Part 1. My favorite part of this book was everything that wasn't the flashback. I really liked the train and the stuff we didn't talk about. And the riddles. I was like, oh, that's cool. Oh, that's a neat way to solve the issue. Oh, the stand! And then we go into the flashback.
I loved that. Actually, it's in part 1 too. I love that Eddie was the one who beat the train. I thought that was awesome.
It was like, I've seen that episode of Star Trek 7 times. You beat the AI by being nonsensical. Like, I've seen this 100 times. It's...
I guess I didn't really think of that. Also, I don't know, I haven't watched a lot of Star Trek either. Which is... I'm having a hard time even thinking of, like, a reference. I don't feel like I've seen that as often, maybe, as you have.
They did it in Smart Guy. Like, when TJ had to fight the chess machine, he did it by making chess moves that didn't make sense, so he confused the machine.
I don't know what that reference is.
Smart Guy, the It was on Disney Channel when we were kids.
Oh, okay, no. I guess I don't have as much exposure to this.
Yeah, it's a very overused sci-fi trope.
Oh, okay. I liked it. I thought it worked out.
I mean, the trope itself is fine, but it's still a trope.
I think I like Eddie a lot. I think anytime he gets the chance to shine, that's.
But
I
didn't like the riddle game to begin with, so.
Oh, see, I did. I was real high on the riddle game.
It's just like it's like the greatest literary riddle game has already been done, and yes, I know you're alluding to it, but you're not going to do it as good. So just stop. You're not Tolkien, so just stop.
What's the literary riddle?
Bilbo and Gollum
is the greatest literary riddle
game. They play a riddle game for Bilbo's life. It's exactly what happens in the Wastelands. Gollum upset. They play. He says, "If you want me to show you the way out, we're gonna play a riddle game, and if you lose, I get to eat you." Charlie the Choo Choo is like, "Okay, we're gonna play a riddle game, and if you lose, I'm gonna crash this train and kill you." It's 100% the Gollum Bilbo riddle game.
Oh, okay. Well, if that was, I guess that doesn't bother me as much.
Oh yeah, because I mean, there's different perspectives, but I've read The Hobbit 5+ times, and it's just like, Steve, I understand that this is like this is your Lord of the Rings, but it's like, what's a really like? Okay, it's like
you don't have to explain. I understand.
It's like a modern artist trying to cover Bohemian Rhapsody. Just stop, because you're not going to do it as good. So just go away.
Yeah. No, I understand. Like if you're, I mean, and that's subversion of culture, I guess, in a way.
What's a big singer right now?
I don't know.
I thought the greatest literary riddle was from Oedipus Rex.
Not riddle game. Oh, you mean with the Sphinx?
With the Sphinx, yeah.
Well,
that's what I thought you were alluding to.
No. Screw that. Tolkien.
But no one bangs their mom in Tolkien. Actually, I don't know if that's true.
There is but there's a very famous brother and sister coupling.
I am reading Tolkien. This is a Tolkien podcast now.
The Children of Huron.
Awesome.
The audiobook is read by Christopher Lee.
I have a credit.
But I mean, it's just like somebody who's really into Oedipus Rex might read it and have the same opinion I have, except for
that's what made me appreciate it.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, it's just the sci-fi, but the post-apocalyptic, which I've also seen. Mm-hmm. I've seen this in Ender's Game, or read it in the Ender's Game series. I've seen it in animes and video games, but I still enjoyed it.
The biggest video game I've ever seen is in Batman the Animated Series when they have to get to the Minotaurs.
And then I don't know. And then I get the Stand reference, and then I'm like, oh, more worlds. Are they collide? And I wanted to learn more about that. And then
I like the Stand part. I thought the Stand portion of it was pretty cool.
I did like all the little Easter eggs for that. I like how we're getting I feel like we're getting a lot more of the worlds melding together, which I think is very neat. 'Cause I'm finding more references as we go through the book, and I'm gonna guess that's probably going to continue.
I would hope, but
I would think. I mean,
as we get closer to the tower,
it's going to be more teenage sex.
You would think, as you get closer to the tower, there would be more thinnies.
Yeah.
So
more distortions and
Well, we don't like. Nope, I'm gonna say that.
Hef, what was your king? Was that
I liked the riddle game. I thought that was cool.
Okay.
Part 2 and 3. I just loved that. I just loved all of it. If I could cut away 1 and 4 and just have that as a standalone novel, I would. It was just so great.
I agree with you. If I got that by itself, I think I would have a lot better of a opinion of it.
And Daniel, your Koontz,
TikTok.
you already said TikTok man. Yeah. Daniel, or Hef, your Koontz.
It's a trifecta. I think the TikTok man is by far the worst thing to happen in this book.
My Koontz is that Susan only took one of her horses. She could have taken them both. There's no reason. It's stupid. It bothered the hell out of me. Why could she not have taken 2?
That's valid. I can't.
You know what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't.
I guess I just didn't think about it, but now
I
I'm
guess
kind of
she
mad.
is just saying, I like this horse more than I like you, horse.
I have 7 horses, Daniel, because I live on a farm.
That's what I picture.
Yeah, and they're all alive.
I picture you walking around with like one of those like straw things coming out of your mouth.
Just a piece of straw.
Is it
A piece of straw?
Yeah.
No, I have to be very cautious though, not to leave my windows down at night because horses like to gum steering wheels.
I thought you meant windows to your house, so I thought you were
there was almost an
direction.
entire summer I would get into my car in the morning and like I'd touch my steering wheel and be like, what? Like there'd just be this fucking goo on my steering wheel. It took me forever to realize it was my horse reaching in and gumming at my steering wheel.
Roll his windows up, brah.
Yeah. Hindsight's 20/20. It wasn't every night, but enough that I was just like, why does my car keep jizzing in here? Like,
because you keep treating her so well.
You steer her just right.
You steer me right round, baby, right round.
You know, just the pedals to push.
I mean, she's still running. I'll take that.
My favorite part of my king for Kung Fu Panda 4 was Jack Black singing that Britney Spears song. That was so great.
I haven't seen it yet.
I
haven't seen 3 yet either.
The end credits is him covering. It's Jack Black's cover of the Britney Spears song, the big one.
Hit Me Baby One More Time?
Yeah, that one.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah, it was sweet. And Aquafina was in it. She's always great.
Who's she?
Aquafina, Renfield,
Okay, who in Renfield?
the female.
Oh, she's the
character.
cop.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right.
She's also.
She is funny.
She's also in Shang-Chi, and she's in Ocean's 8.
I liked her in Renfield.
Yeah.
She was. She has good timing.
Yeah,
I thought
she's really
really
funny.
Yeah. Oh, she was the dragon thing, wasn't she? In the Disney movie, Raya.
Yeah, Raya the last. Yeah,
Yeah.
She was also in that
Yeah.
movie. Yes,
Movie's okay.
it's all right.
It's not. Yeah.
It was not as epic as we were led to believe.
I felt like it was crazy long for what it was.
Yeah, it was.
Like it felt
was
like it
very
went
long.
on forever.
Yeah, Snow and Kanto.
Okay.
Half you're up.
Oh.
Rankings.
It goes below the Wastelands. It's number 12.
Number 12, Below the Wastelands and Above the Bone Farm.
Yeah. Again, that's not really a knock to it. Like, honestly, in terms of writing, I think this one is better than the Wastelands. I enjoyed parts of the Wastelands more than I enjoyed parts of this.
I have it at number 5, Below No Beast So Fierce and Above The
Nice.
Exorcist.
Nice.
Again, I don't really expect other people to enjoy this book as much as I did, but it really spoke to me in a lot of ways. Daniel.
I definitely don't like it as much of as The Eyes of the Dragon. I think I'm going to put it right below The Gunslinger.
So it's your new number 21, Below the Gunslinger and Above Carmilla.
Yeah.
Okay. I would not expect you to rank this above Lesbian Vampire, but you know.
There's children.
I had a joke about it.
For Zombie Day, obviously, The Stand.
Yep.
Delane is mentioned. Delane is the country where Eyes of the Dragon takes place. And The Shine, obviously. Elaine has The Shine.
Do we think that Randall Flagg's crystal ball is that wizard glass?
Very possibly. Very possibly. Because I would assume that Flagg is above John Farson. He's like manipulating John Farson is Count Dooku, and Flagg is Sidious, is my guess. So, and the ball belongs to John Farson, which means it belongs to Randall Flagg.
Right.
So, very possibly the crystal ball in The Eyes of the Dragon is the Wizard's Glass, or one of the other ones, because there are multiple of them. Homework. You're the 4th gunslinger of Roland's ka-tet. What's your origin story? What's your relationship to Roland, Elaine, and Cuthbert? And how do you involve yourself in the events of the Hambry exile?
Okay, my name is Blade. I am the gunslinger that uses 2 swords instead of guns. And I am...
Then you're not a gunslinger!
No, they're gun blades.
Gun blades. I knew it. I fucking knew you were gonna do that.
And I'm half gunslinger, half Susan, half horse.
Are you gonna buy a Buster sword for your cats?
Yes. My origin story is they see I'm just so good with swords that I have to go along with them because I know I can keep them safe because I'm so cool and awesome.
Seriously, though, did you see that Square Enix is releasing a line of pet toys?
Yeah.
You get a Buster sword for your dog.
No.
It's real. Yeah.
Oh,
it's a real thing.
God.
And they released it on like April 4th. And they actually have like a thing on there. This is not a joke. This is real.
A lot of the stuff they release, they'll put it up and people will be like, is this real? And then people will see the price and it's like $5,000 or like some absurd price.
Is DST not enough that they have to disappoint me further?
What's DST?
DST? Dog stuff toy? I don't know what DST is.
I don't know. You said it, not me.
It said DLC.
Oh. No,
I thought you said like DDC.
I heard DST.
Okay, I slurred. I'm sorry.
DLC. Yeah. No, you're right about the DLC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not an exclusive Square Enix issue, though, unfortunately. Wouldn't it be nice if Square Enix was the only game company who did that shit and everybody else just
shat on it?
Yeah.
That would be great.
That'd be awesome.
100%. Yes.
Okay. I am a gunslinger in their class. And I don't know until the day that Roland takes down Court with David the Hawk that I'm actually the illegitimate son of Court. On that day when my father is disgraced, my mother takes me aside. My mother is the Jilly of a prominent nobleman in Gilead, but she tells me that secretly when she was a prostitute before she became my stepfather's Jilly, she was impregnated by Court on one of his many trips to the inner city. And now I've seen my father disgraced by that fucker Roland Duchesne, and I am secretly harboring a grudge against Roland, and I'm just waiting for a point to spring my revenge. So I am going on this mission with Roland, Elaine, and Cuthbert, and this will be the perfect opportunity for me to exact my revenge. And when I find out that he's sleeping with Susan Delgado, I decide this is my opportunity. How exactly am I going to exact my revenge? And here's what happens. I'm going to go to the witch. I'm going to go to Rhea of the Coos and tell her that I have this information that I can give her to upset the town of Hambry. And when I get there, she offers to turn herself into anybody to make love. And I give in, and I have her turn into Roland and have her ram me so hard I die. Because that's secretly what I wanted the whole time.
That was a twist ending I was not anticipating.
I like that his also included graphic teenager sex, so it fits in Stephen
It's only one teenager, though.
Yeah.
I like how his origin story was also an Exodus story. So I'm a plant. I come down from space, and I have developed a humanoid form.
Like the Blob? No, the Blob doesn't have a humanoid form. You started like the Blob.
Yeah. I have the ability to grow things and speak with other native wildlife that is of a plant-like nature, and I go across the earth talking to other plants in order to be able to help them grow and do things such as populate the earth. And my relationship to Roland Duchesne is, in their group, is that they are members of the 12 Gung-Ho Guns that have decided that I am too dangerous to be kept alive on the planet, and thus I'm on the constant run from them.
You're making a reference to something, but
I am.
It's going over to my head.
I think it's funnier if I don't tell you. As far as how I've involved myself in the events of Hambry, I was asked to try to bring their facilities back to existence because all they can do is make ice, and that's about all they can do. But I thankfully do make them the ice. They're the things that make the ice, so, they're okay with me.
I only saw ice on birthdays.
Yeah. But now Roland and the rest of his Gung-Ho Guns have shown up, and if I gotta get out. So.
Can he grow gun swords?
Technically, yes.
Yay, I love him.
I technically have 3 guns. Hint.
I don't know.
He's Vash the Stampede.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't watched that since like 11th grade.
I still like it. I could see how it hasn't aged well.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't watched it.
Yeah.
I still really like it.
I very much like Dragon.
Yeah.
I mean, I did watch the movie when it came out.
I still haven't watched the new series.
Oh,
that just came
Stampede?
out. Yeah.
I'm good.
Nah, I mean, they kind of warp it, and I don't think they warp it in the best way.
If I haven't made time in my life to watch the Rurouni Kenshin reboot, Trigun has no chance.
That makes sense.
Have they even... Has much of that been out yet?
Yeah, it's all
The
out.
Kenshin?
Mm-hmm.
Kenshin
And it's dubbed. Yeah.
What?
It's been out for like almost 2 years.
I don't have access to resources, man.
I need
You don't have the internet?
I need to
Not
finish
really.
the original before I
Have
can
you
watch
seen?
the
You've
reboot.
seen my internet. I don't have the internet.
Further reading, Romeo and Juliet, Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah.
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 Yes.
I guess more Stephen King books. This is.
I think it's pretty
focused than.
I don't think
it's very typical.
No, I don't
for him.
I think like if you're looking, you're probably.
If you're there for the teenage sex,
Yeah.
But also if you're there for the teenage sex, unsubscribe.
I wish they would have been teenagers in it.
Yeah.
That would have been not good, but better.
The book would have gone up at least. Steve, we know what you were trying to do, but man, do better. Oh.
Upcoming on the Horror of Babylon, next week some of us are reading the novella The Little Sisters of Eluria, which is
hosted by Hef.
which is the Dark Tower novella. Then on our next, and we're actually doing 2 novellas in a row. On April 21st, Daniel and I are reading The Great God Pan by Arthur Machen, where it's funny because 2 words in the title I say repeatedly throughout reading it. Great God! Great God! And then our next 2 bonus episodes on Thursday, April 11th, we're watching Happy Death Day to You. And then on the 18th, Daniel and I revisit the Treehouse of Horror of Babylon with Hex in the City, the first Treehouse of Horror appearance of O'Reilly the Leprechaun. Thank you to our patrons, including Abigail, the First Breaker of Chains, Mother of Dragons, and
Logan,
the Full Metal Patron, and Ben, the 4th Patron of Hope, and Mia, the 5th, the Rainmaker.
She makes it rain.
Oh, she makes it rain. And thank you to Sierra, the 6th, the Keyblade Patron. And thank you to Horsemen Comics and Gaming, which you can visit at the Morgantown Mall in Morgantown, West Virginia, the Mall at Robinson in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You can shop online at fourhorsemen.tcgplayerpro.com. And if you make it in the store, say hello to the proprietor, Ronald III, Grampus of Christmas. And we have another episode to do, and I'm too tired to think of something snarky to say. Ron's underwear is purple, like Mayor Lewis. Okay. Guys, thank you for reading Wizard and Glass and recording with me tonight.
You're very welcome.
Indeedy.
And thank you to our patrons. Stay tuned for our socials and stay scary.
Stay scary, folk.
And now for the obligatory socials. Please like, share, and subscribe. You can find the podcast on Twitter at HorrorPod69. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Slasher, and Goodreads. Become part of the Disturbed community by asking for the Facebook group and Discord links. Send dick pics to the Horror of Babylon podcast at gmail.com. Support the show at patreon.com/the Horror of Babylon. In closing, you can let your friends know that The Horror of Babylon is available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, and all other major podcast apps. Stay scary.